Doc Rivers fired. After 3 years with the Philadelphia 76ers, we're back in the coaching hunt circle. We expected it. We're going to debate it. We're going to talk whether it was valid or not. Trending in the AM, where your opinion actually matters, starts in 30 seconds.
Fourth and goal.
And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. We're live, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. You know the drill. Like, share, retweet, follow on all social media platforms. Shout it from the rooftops. Tell a friend. Stop at the car light. Tell the person in the car next to you. Plug it in. Listen on YouTube right there in the car. Tell everybody this is the most interactive, fan-friendly morning show in Philadelphia. This is the only place where your opinions actually matter, and it's the only show that actually starts on time when it posts a time. Is that a Union shirt? Of course it is. I'm not just a Sixers and Eagles guy here, Zach. I talk it all. I mean, I don't really talk much Union, but I do have a couple Union guests up my sleeve from time to time on this show. You got to support all 5 Philly teams, not 4 or 5 Philly teams. So, yes, it is a Union shirt. I'm your host, Phil Stiefel, here on Philadelphia Sports Network. Welcome to the show today, guys. I did not know how long it would take till this specific show would happen. We are talking Doc Rivers because literally like an hour after yesterday's show, Doc Rivers was fired. And if I had time yesterday, I would have jumped live and done a second show yesterday. Was a little busy at the pizza shop. Couldn't do that. But I didn't know if Doc Rivers' firing was going to happen in a day, an hour, or 3 weeks. But we knew it was going to happen. We are doing another extended episode here. We're going to go about 80 minutes today, give or take a few here. And so, we might dive into a little bit of the Phillies who are, again, disappointing me beyond belief. But we are going to start off with the news from yesterday, and that is Doc Rivers being fired. Just think about this for a second. Doc Rivers, Monty Williams, Mike Budenholzer, Nick Nurse, all fired at the same time. 4 elite level coaches, all fired at the same time. Well, within a few weeks of each other. I mean, on top of those teams, Detroit's still looking for a coach. There's a lot of coaching openings. I don't know if there's ever been a time, and I saw somebody tweet this, so I'm not taking credit for thinking of this. You've got Giannis Antetokounmpo. You've got Patrick Siakam, you got Joel Embiid, James Harden, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Chris Paul. That is 7 all-star players. Guys that have played in NBA finals and playoff games and won MVPs and whatnot, all without a head coach at the same time. Has that ever happened in NBA history, that many high-level athletes and stars? Hell, has that ever happened in any sport, that many high-level stars or were all coachless at the beginning of the offseason at the same time? It's insane to think about. But you got Doc Rivers. He is no longer the coach of the Sixers. And it's so funny. You have Ramona Shelburne on, before yesterday's show. We talked about it yesterday a little bit, saying that it was either going to be Doc Rivers or James Harden. And everybody wanted Doc Rivers gone, including me. I wanted him gone before last season. I don't beat around the bush. And he actually had a very good season coaching this past year, which is crazy. He was not as bad as people made him out to be. And he had to be the person. He had to be the person that fell on the sword for this. It should be both. It should be both. But this is what I'm going to get into for a second here, Mark. Just think about it this way. Everybody wanted Doc Rivers gone. Sorry, I was distracted. My screen my secondary screen wasn't working. Everybody wanted Doc Rivers gone. But then as soon as the report came out that Ramona Shelburne said that they're probably going to move on from Doc to try to keep James Harden happy, now all of a sudden everybody is mad that Doc Rivers is fired. Guys, whether James Harden stays or goes, and I don't think the two are exclusively linked together, it does not mean James Harden is staying here. I'm going to say that probably about 15 times in this show as comments roll in. There is no guarantee that James Harden is staying here. But whether James Harden stays or goes, Doc Rivers had to go. We've talked about all the options. Doc had his best season in a long time and short of a closeout games, had a great postseason. Yeah, I mean, he came up small in games 6 and 7, as did the whole team. But as we're going to get into, I mean, there aren't many. You couldn't keep Doc Rivers and blow the rest of the team up. You just couldn't. You had to. The best options, I went over it, and Mitch, we're going to get into Mitch, Mark, Johnny, you got all comments there. Your best option, your options were fire Doc Rivers, bring in a fresh voice, and mostly run it back with some slight tweaks. Option 2, trade Joel, which no one wants to do. Option 3, trade Tyrese, nobody wants to do. So the best course of action is to just continue running it back with that fresh voice, because that is the best course of action to at least be competitive next year. It doesn't mean it's not going to be a failure again next year. But if it's a failure again next year with a different coach, then maybe you have that conversation. Maybe you do. The conversation was always, well, you got to get Joel away from Brett Brown and Ben Simmons. So they got away from them. You got to Doc Rivers and Ben Simmons. Well, then you got rid of him and got to, James Harden. Well, now if James Harden stays with Joel Embiid with a new coach and without Doc Rivers, if now you've got multiple pairings and multiple coach combinations with Joel Embiid, then you start having the conversation of moving him from there. Mitch, dude, if I know Mike D'Antoni is on everybody's comment list of all the national media people are saying Mike D'Antoni's on the list. We knew Mike D'Antoni is going to be on the list. That we are the Houston 76ers or the Philadelphia Rockets. Daryl Morey, James Harden, Mike D'Antoni, always linked. He is going to be an option. Let me tell you something. If Mike D'Antoni's the coach and we worry about Joel Embiid being gassed in the playoffs, Joel Embiid will be gassed. James Harden, too. James Harden and Joel Embiid would be gassed by game 48 if Mike D'Antoni's the coach, because all he does is run, and these guys can't run. We have the slowest team in the NBA probably. Doc is Doc. This was the end of the road. It had to be the end of the road. And Johnny, did they do him dirty? I don't think they did. Coaching in any sport, you're only as good as the last series, the last game, the last season you coached. The Sixers came up short. Again, what is it, 5-6 years in a row that they've gone out in the first or second round. It's been since 2001 since we've made an Eastern Conference Finals. Something's got to give. You've got star players that are on bad contracts. You got to try to make it work with the players, and the coach is the easiest option out. Harden is opting out. There is still, again, I'll say it 100 times today. A lot of people are saying because Doc's gone, James is staying. I don't think that's true. I think there's still, he might stay, James Harden. He's opting out no matter what. He's not picking up his option. He's either going to sign a new contract with the Sixers or a new contract somewhere else or a new contract and get traded. One of those three things is happening. He's not going to just play on a one-year deal like that. Embiid should look in the mirror. If he's mad at that Doc lost his job, he performs, well, exactly. Joel is as much to blame as anybody else. More than James Harden, more than Tyrese Maxey, probably just as much as Doc Rivers. He's the star of the team. He is the MVP. And out of anybody, he is the MVP. Let's not forget that. And the MVP came up really small in game 6 and 7. So he's got to do better. And he's got to look at optics, too. The way he was smiling, giggling after game 7, like he didn't care. Maybe that's the Doc Rivers getting fired. We think is to run it back. We think it's to just have a different voice with some slight tweaks on this team. But the odds on truth is there's a chance that this is just step one of a bunch of changes. Maybe Josh Harris and Michael Rubin are like, yo, Daryl, fire Doc. And then as soon as that's done, they go in and fire Daryl Morey today. Maybe that's the case. Maybe we learn more. Maybe this is not as slow of an offseason as we think. Maybe this stuff picks up fast and we start hearing more and more news of what's going on with this team. The team is in cap hell. They have no draft picks ever for the next 100. We all made fun of the Los Angeles Rams and how few picks they had. Let me tell you something. The Sixers are just in the bare bones, category like the Rams as well. It's the players that gave no effort. Doc Rivers' effort is a little suspect as well. Joker, I mean, this is a great comment, Johnny, because this is something I said yesterday and on last night on Twitter. Everybody's jumping all over Jokic. Everyone hated Jokic. Embiid should have been the MVP the last 3 years, not just this year. He's better than Jokic, blah, blah, blah. Joel Embiid comes up small in Game 7. Jokic goes out there last night and the last series and a half, flat dominates. And Nikolai Jokic, every Sixers fan all of a sudden is like, no. Joker's better than Embiid now. Y'all flip-flopped faster than me on anything. Y'all hated Jokic and the Joker. And now all of a sudden, because of 1-2 bad games there in the playoffs from Joel Embiid, and Jokic continues to put up his hollow triple-doubles. He did have a monster game last night. A monster first half last night, Jokic. But now all of a sudden, all Sixers fans are all over Jokic. I've used dirty words. It blows my mind. Guys, I'm not jumping on the Joker bandwagon. I'm not doing it. I'll give him props for a great game last night. But, man, everybody, all the Sixers and the Nets are even on that tree. No. We still won. Castro, Philly, Mr. Joe. We still won that trade over Brooklyn. Getting rid of Ben Simmons for James Harden. We keep Ben Simmons. He never plays for us again. We got James Harden. We made another run. There's no way Brooklyn won that trade. Unless they find a way to turn the draft picks we gave them into the next great superstar, which I doubt, we did not lose that trade. We won that trade. He wanted to go on vacation. Well, I don't know what it was, but it wasn't good. Watched the draft lottery last night. It bothered me that we didn't have any picks. We don't have any picks I don't want any lottery picks, Mitch. Who wants lottery picks? If you're getting lottery picks, that means you ain't in the playoffs. Nobody. It's crazy. And obviously San Antonio won the draft lottery last night, and they get that kid. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name without actually seeing it on the screen, because that name is a tough one to say. The Frenchman, what's he, like 8 feet tall? They're comparing him that there are people saying that in today's NBA, he's a better prospect than LeBron James. Holy crap. So the Spurs are going to be good. And, of course, the Europeans going to San Antonio. Popovich is going to be rejuvenated there in San Antonio right away. James Harden sucks. James Harden does not suck. James Harden is not MVP Houston Harden anymore, but he's still better than 80% of the NBA. He's just not in that 1% of the NBA anymore. Not at all. We tied. I mean, maybe we tied if it turns out that the pick part of it works out in your favor. Maybe in 5 years, Joe, because we'll still be doing this in 5 years, right? Me and you battling on Twitter, on shows, hammering it out, talking Eagles, talking sports, because we're never going to stop doing this. Maybe in 5 years you can tell me they won the trade. But right now you can't do it. If D'Antonio's our next coach, I'm taking see, Eric, here's the problem, Eric. If D'Antoni's our next coach, I'd want to take a break, but I can't. What else am I going to talk about all year long? I mean, I could talk Eagles most of the year. I could talk a little Phillies. Y'all saw yesterday. I talked Flyers. We did an 80-minute episode yesterday. I talked Flyers for 20 minutes. During those 20 minutes, I lost 40% of my viewers. So what am I going to do? We're going to talk movies on this show? We're going to talk something else on this show? I don't know. If I'm not talking Eagles and Sixers, they're the things people want to talk about. So you might say that, but you're still going to come on this show, Eric, every day and tell me how much you're pissed that Mike D'Antoni's our coach, that Mike D'Antoni's a bad coach, that he's doing a terrible job maximizing Joel Embiid. You're going to do all that. Because why not? That's what we do. We're not going to stop even. I might not watch all 82 games, 48 minutes of all 82 games. Maybe I let the wife take the remote 1 game or 2 out of the year versus never. Oh, man. But Mike D'Antoni, we all know. If you're watching the show, we've only got 6 likes on YouTube right now. 3 of them are from my 3 accounts. So we got to make sure we hit that like button, guys, and keep those comments coming in. Hit that subscribe button. If you do not hit the like button right now and you're watching the show, that means you want Mike D'Antoni as our next head coach. That's the problem. If you're not hitting that like button, you want it. And nobody said, so it just jumped up and everything because people obviously don't want Mike D'Antoni as their next head coach. Am I the only one who thinks Wembanyama will be a bust? Did I say that right, Joe Castro? Wembanyama? Or is it Wembyama, like, I don't know. I butcher the names all the time. I don't know if he's going to be a bust or not. I've only seen the highlights and the footage, and there was a clip yesterday on ESPN, like a highlight package of him or some kind of an interview with him that was going on, and the dude looks talented. But I'm not going to say I'm a prospect expert. Okay, I'm not. I don't value prospects, or I don't know how to judge them really well. There's people comparing him to being better than LeBron James. There really is. And he could shoot, he could drive, he can move. He's 7'2". He needs to put on a ton of weight. His body frame will not put up to the NBA, hustle if he does not put. And he's so young, he is going to put on more body weight, obviously. He's going to thicken out, obviously. But he needs to do that to not be a bust. The odds are more likely than not you're going to – if you're being compared to LeBron James, the odds are you're going to be a bust more so than the next LeBron James. It's very hard to be the next LeBron James. Mention Flyers one more time and I'm out of here. Dude, I'm telling you. I watch, there's a little ticker, Johnny, in the top left corner of live views on YouTube and Facebook. It doesn't count Twitter views. And I just watched that number. We were at like 28. Then it went to 24. Then 20. And then 18. And shout out to Nate Tennyson, a great writer for Philadelphia Sports Network, for coming on. But, man, once we started talking Flyers, by the time we went from like 28 to like 9 viewers live during that 20-minute segment. We built some of them up after we got done and back onto the other topics. But, man, nobody wants to talk the Stars either. Did you see that report that said Joel was supposedly furious that Doc was fired? I did not see that report, Zach. And if that is the case, that is concerning. I have this sneaky feeling, guys, that Joel Embiid wants out of here. He's not going to say it. He loves Philadelphia, the fan base, the city, way too much. But he is tired. He knows he's not playing until he's 38 years old. He's not going to have a LeBron James-esque length career. He's got his MVP now. He's already known as one of the best big men of all time. He wants a title. And if this team isn't built if the plan of the offseason is being groomed to cater around James Harden, he's going to be pissed off. I think him and James have a good relationship, but it's not great. There is a very strong chance. In my back of my head, there's this little voice. It always tells me things in the back. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. It's right behind my left ear here. And it tells me that Joel Embiid might want out of here. And if that's the case, we're in trouble. I mean, you can get a lot more than people realize for Joel Embiid. It's not all just you can't get value for a reigning MVP. You can get value for a reigning MVP. You actually, I've said it 3 times this week. If Rudy Gobert can go for 5 first-round picks, you can get something for Joel Embiid. You can get players. We broke it down yesterday. What you could get from Miami. Obviously, if he wants out of here, Miami's going to be the hot name because of his relationship with Jimmy Butler, Jimmy Buckets. I saw a rumor about like 30 minutes before we went live on this show today that New York, he's not available, but if he becomes unavailable, New York's a team that's been monitoring Joel Embiid and what it would take to get him. Johnny's saying Wembyama is that guy. We'll find out. He's going to be the first name called on draft night for sure. Say mid more, you boomer. Wembyama is mid. I wonder what his drip game is like. See, I could throw cool hip words in. I know how to use them. I'm just too old to use those words there, Johnny. If my second best player can't be the best player on the floor when the best player isn't, then we don't need him. I'm all for James to Houston. Well, I put it out there last night on Twitter, Eric, and I'm not very good with the NBA trade. I hate the NBA trade machine because as long as contracts match, they accept it, which doesn't mean teams accept it. And obviously the Dame Lillard talk, if we lose James Harden, is going to be a hot topic again. Another star and new coach to pair with Joel Embiid. Is there a way to get a sign and trade with James Harden? You send James Harden to Houston. You send Tobias Harris to Portland, and Portland sends us Dame Lillard. Now, we don't have any other assets. Our assets are sending to James Harden to Houston. And Tobias Harris there. Houston has to give something up. Maybe Houston can pair one of their young players and some of their draft picks to Portland with Tobias. So that's the 3-team trade. All we get out of it is Dame Lillard. We lose 2 players. They get draft picks and Tobias Harris, so they have somebody to play. And Houston gets James Harden back, and Portland also gets maybe some young players and picks. there's got to be a way to make that 3-team trade work. And that, in my mind, might be. I've always wanted Dame Lillard in Philly. Let me backtrack for a second. Always have wanted him in Philly. But are we going to get Dame Lillard too late? He's basically the same age as James Harden. He's had just as much wear and tear on his body, if not more. He's injury prone, just like James Harden. Not like long-term injuries, but he's always missing 4 or 5 games or a hamstring, a back, a pull, a sprain, whatever it is. Is it just too late to even go that route? Like, is it worth it? But you kind of have to. If you're not trained Joel Embiid, you got to go all in to try again to win a title. I flip out of Buffalo sports radio during hockey. Look, Johnny, I love hockey. I do. It's just been a really dark period for a very long stretch in Philly. Not just wins and losses, just the way the organization's been run and the way they've handled their fan base. That's the problem. He's too comfortable here. He isn't going anywhere, Phil. Joel or James? I think they're both comfortable. I think you mean Joel, Mark, and I know what you're getting at. He's comfortable here. And I get that feeling too. But he strikes me as a guy that would like call a bluff, or he would bluff. He'll say, I want out of here if you're not going to build the team my way. And Daryl Morey is going to take James Harden's side because, they're tied at the hip. So he's going to say, all right, I'll trade you. And then Joe will be like, damn, I really didn't want that. I was just trying to get my way. He seems like a very, very comfortable. He also seems like maybe deep down inside he's a bit of a crybaby. I don't know if I'm too far-fetched on that, but maybe. I wouldn't be mad at all if Embiid asked for a trade. I wouldn't be mad. It'd be funny because I kept saying that Bryce Harper was going to be that guy. That after 4 years of losing in Philly, he was going to ask for a trade because he wants to win too. But Joel, it's crazy. Maybe Doc had enemies in the locker room, but I feel like NBA fans and franchises just use them as scapegoats. Look, Doc Rivers fell on the sword. He died for the sins of James Harden and Joel Embiid. He died for the sins of Daryl Morey. It is what it is. Somebody's got to take the fall. Like I said, Cam, if you keep Doc Rivers, then you probably got to move on from Joel and James. You got to try something different. It's easier to run it back with the players and get a different voice to maybe tap into something different with these players. It's just easier to do that. And that's the thing. If he wants a title, he needs to do more. He needs to stop sulking and find a different way to challenge his teammates instead of those veiled criticisms during press conference. You got to lead by example, Mark. Problem is, can a center in today's NBA be I think the big question mark is, can a center be the leader of a team? Can a center be the focal point of a team? You can still put up huge numbers, but I just don't know in today's NBA if a team built around a Joel Embiid-esque type player will ever win an NBA title. I'm going to keep cheering for him. I'm going to hope I'm wrong on that. I just don't know. If it's multiple players and picks, then I'll be more than happy. I mean, if Miami made a call and said we want Joel because they lose to Boston, they got multiple players. They got multiple picks they could send. The Knicks got multiple players, not really good players, but they got multiple players they could send us. They got lots of draft picks. See, the thing is, when you're trading Joel Embiid, you expect lots of draft picks, but this team is still good. If you keep James Harden, say you keep Tobias Harris, you got Tyrese Maxey, you're still a really good team in the Eastern Conference. So you want players that can contribute at a playoff level right away. And I just don't know if some of these teams, there's very few players. You'll get draft pick competition for Joel Embiid. Will you get players that can contribute at a playoff level to keep this fan base entertained? And then again, it comes down to the lost money. Trading Joel Embiid cost this franchise millions upon millions of dollars in revenue across all platforms: shirts, jerseys, advertising, merchandise, ticket sales, season ticket sales. There's so much that you lose financially that Josh Harris and Michael Rubin would never sign off on trading Joel Embiid unless he flat out demanded him out. You're not going to trade Embiid to a team that is going to block. And that's the other thing, Mark. You make an excellent point there. Somebody yesterday brought up in the comments, to trade him to Boston. Because it seems like him and Jason Tatum are buddies now, for Jaylen Brown, and pair Jaylen Brown with Maxey and Harden here. You're not going to put Joel Embiid on the Boston Celtics. You're just not going to do that. I guess that's a fair point with the Heat trade. I only keep bringing up because I think that happens if he forces it to happen. If Jimmy Butler and Joel Embiid come out after the season and say, we want to play together in Miami, make it happen. Then both teams are stuck and have to figure it out. That's the only problem. The GM always made me nervous because he's Boyd. If you're new to the show, pardon me if I've never noticed you in the comments before. I try to get to every single comment. If you're new to the show, Boyd, let me tell you something. You're preaching to the choir. I didn't want Daryl Morey here the day he was hired. I said it was going to be a big, big mistake. And I would be more than happy. Tomorrow's show title. Today's show title is Doc Rivers fired. What is next for our Sixers? I would love tomorrow's show title to be Daryl Morey fired as well. What is next for the Philadelphia 76ers? It would make my day. I would be more happy that Daryl Morey would get fired than Doc Rivers because Daryl Morey is doing an awful job to an extent. Well, I will say he was given a tough situation. Problem is, all he's done is try to recreate the Houston Rockets here. And that's why I'm fearing. We're going to start talking here in a little bit as we go about coaching candidates and what you want in a coach and what kind of a philosophy you want the coach to have. Make sure you're hitting that like button, guys, and subscribe. We're at 9 likes now. Again, Mike D'Antoni. If you don't like this video, Mike D'Antoni is who you want as head coach. You know, whether you're watching on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, if you're not liking, sharing, retweeting, following, it means you want Mike D'Antoni. So you better keep hitting those buttons there and telling everybody to jump on this show. Your second best player is Maxey if the team lets him. And he's only 22 years old, Mark. But that's also, and I know it's a heartbreaking comment to make, he's still one of your biggest trade assets. You could trade Tyrese Maxey for a boatload of picks and maybe veteran players if you really wanted to. And I put out that 3-team trade with Portland, and everybody responded the only way that works is if Maxey goes to Portland, not Tobias. I'm not doing it. But why Embiid crying? Let's not make Embiid crying comments. I feel like the league has so much talent, stockpiling really good role players and a star is better than multiple stars. Let's talk about that for a second, Cam. Let's look at the 4 teams that are playing in their conference finals right now. You got Denver Nuggets. What are they? They've got one superstar in Jokic, a star player in Jamal Murray, an all-star level player. You got a couple really good role players in Gordon and Michael Porter Jr., and they've built around Jokic. Great coaching. Everybody knows their role. The Lakers built around stars. Anthony Davis, LeBron James, bunch of role players. Miami, their star is Jimmy Buckets, but they just got a lot of role players on that team. And is Jimmy Buckets really that star that he used to be? He is, but he's also he's not the James Harden or Dame Lillard type star or Joel Embiid type star. He does it by his effort. And then you got Boston, who's got 2 stars and a lot of role players. So I think you need more than 1 star for the most part, but maybe you don't need 3 or 4 max contract guys. Maybe the play is 1.5 max type level guys, and then better role players. But you need the right coach to do that as well. He wasn't laughing though. He wasn't crying this time. He was laughing. I'd want to go fast before you. I'd want to go fast before you content creators start ranting and coming up with trade scenarios, because we always undervalue our players, which tanks their value. I mean, I think you get a lot. I keep saying, if you're going to trade anybody, just remember, Rudy Gobert went for 5 first-round picks. Let's not forget that. And let me just remind you all this as well. I've been preaching for 2 years on Twitter. I hate the NBA trade machine. Everyone just thinks that when you punch in names into a trade machine and it says accept it, that why aren't the teams making these trades? Because there's so much more that goes into a trade than just what the trade machine valuator says. And that drives me nuts, Eric. It's the NBA trade machine and mock drafts on PFF. Everyone thinks they're an expert because they can do it on a website. And they have no clue what they're talking about. Breaks my heart. Upsets me every time. I get up every morning, excellent, and listen for who will talk about how Josh Allen, the greatest. Yeah, no. Pass on that comment. If Embiid traded to Knicks, the Villanova guys have to come in the package, and then you'll see That's your dream scenario, Mark, right? So we've been recreating the Houston Rockets here with Daryl Morey. But you want to recreate the Villanova Wildcats in the Wells Fargo Center. Can we stop with Danny DeVito and commercial? You don't like Danny DeVito? You got something wrong with you, man, Johnny. I'm just kidding, man. Danny DeVito's a riot. Man, a team built around the center is going to come out of the West. But they're built around him differently, and he's a different type of player. He is really the epitome of a point forward. And I'm not taking anything away from what he did. I just don't know if, it's a different type of center that Nikolai Jokic plays. It's a different type of athlete. And look, he's proven that he's better than Joel. I still just don't get why everybody's jumping off the Joel bandwagon and everybody's jumping on the Joker bandwagon. He just plays a different game. He actually shoots well. He passes well. He rebounds. He does so much. He just doesn't play defense. To trade him to Boston, they need to overpay massively. We're not trading Joel to Boston. It's just not going to happen. Just get it out there right now. Let's just not let that happen. It's just not. If you're trading Embiid or Maxey, you signal the team and the fans that you are a retool rebuild. Can't do that. I agree, Mark. So there's two ends of the conversation here, Mark. There's conversation one, where it signifies the end, and you're retooling, you're rebuilding, and the fans are going to get scared and freak out that we're about to enter another process level era. And nobody wants to go through that again. The other end of the equation is sometimes, Mark, you got to take a step back before you can take two steps forward. And with the Bucks, with the Celtics, with the Heat, with the teams in the East right now, are the Sixers going to be, with a slight tweak, with even just the exact same team with a new coach, are they going to be better next year than Boston, Milwaukee, Miami in the playoffs? Are they going to be? You got the Cavaliers ascending, the Knicks ascending, Brooklyn maybe. Are they going to be any better? That's the question. So sometimes timing is everything. So maybe you do need that one step back. I don't think you do. I think you just retool. You refresh a little bit with that new voice, and you hope, and then you do it next year. I'm giving this team one more year with that new coach. This core one more year with that new coach with some slight tweaks. You try to trade Tobias for some role players. You do something. But if they say they're bringing back Embiid and Harden and all these people again and just running it back basically, I'm okay with it. But then next year, we better completely rebuild, retool if it doesn't work out. Depending on how and why it doesn't But sometimes that step back makes a difference. So who are we rooting for the rest of the way? In the NBA? I mean, I picked the Lakers to make the NBA Finals. So I'm rooting for them to come out of the Denver series. They were getting blown out and smoked in the first half. They made it a game last night. I didn't stay up for the whole game. Somewhere in the third quarter, I passed out last night. I was flipping between that and the Sixers or the Phillies game, which was dreadful as well. Obviously, I'm going to root for Miami over Boston. I would never root for Boston. I hate Boston. It's a great city, but I hate their fans and their franchises in sports. And I love Jimmy Butler. You see his jersey still hanging right there. It'll never go down. So I'm looking for a Lakers, Heat, a LeBron, Jimmy Butler finals, but it'll probably be Denver versus Boston. That's probably how it's going to end up. So what I want is completely different than what I think is going to happen. Do you know that time that Daryl Morey press conference is today? Didn't even know he had a press conference today. I'll be interested to listen to it and watch it. And we'll talk about it tomorrow on this show. We'll see what he says, if he gives us any information. If it's anything, like I expected it to be very vague. I expected it to be very uninteresting. He's going to say, we're going to try to find ways to make this team better, and we needed a new voice. And he's going to say very generic stuff at it. Or he's going to come out and call everybody out and blast everybody, or it's going to be him stepping down. But most likely it's going to be a very vague interview and press conference today. Miami are the lowest seed, so I guess I want them to go all the way. Yeah. I mean, I think a LeBron versus Jimmy Buckets, a Lakers versus Heat, a Spoelstra back in the finals again, missing Tyler Hero, their best scorer. I love it. I think it would be an entertaining finals. It really would. Is it a press conference where he announces that he's stepping down? Marsha, we can only help. We can only hope, man. Only hope that that's the case. But no, he's going to talk about the failures of this team and how they're going to try to make it a little bit better, what they've got to do. He's going to answer the softball questions from the media. He's going to pass on the hardball questions from the media. I'm sure some of Philadelphia Sports Network's writers will be there at the press conference as well. I'm sure there'll be great articles. Make sure you check their website out. Zach and the team there do great work. Mike, covering them. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Go Heat and Jimmy Buckets. The best to the people that think Jimmy Butler wants to go to Miami or Joel Embiid wants to go be at Miami and play with Jimmy Buckets. If Jimmy Buckets loses to the Boston Celtics, he's going to want Joel Embiid there with him. If Jimmy Buckets and the Heat win a title, they're not going to need Joel Embiid. They're going to say, look, we can do it without him. We're good as is. So if you don't want Joel Embiid to demand and Jimmy Buckets to demand, the Heat pairing there of Jimmy Buckets and Joel Embiid, you better root for the Heat. It's the best case scenario. But then Daryl Morey's going to talk this and that today. He's going to be asked about what he wants in a coach and who's on his list. He's going to say, well, there's a lot of fine candidates out there. Deep down inside, he's saying Mike D'Antoni's already on my private jet on his way, or he's already in the Wells Fargo Center, and he snuck in through the back door, through the janitor's door. And I think that's a very important thing for us to start talking about here in the show, what we want. And again, we're at 9 likes still, guys. We've had like 15 different people coming and going. We got 9 likes on this video, guys. Pound that like button, guys. Let's go. 1 like on YouTube or Facebook, 9 on YouTube. Let's go, guys. What we want, if we're going to run this team back as a mostly similar. When I say mostly similar, I mean Harden, Maxey, and Embiid. And then we're going to tweak some of the other things. Yeah, Melton will be here. McDaniels might or might not. Paul Reed might or might not. Tobias might or might not. You're going to see some changing, but you're going to have that core 3 of Harden, Maxey, and Embiid. But what do we want out of this coach? What kind of offense? What kind of defense? What kind of discipline do we expect and want? What do we need to be the person that's running this team? The way we lost, I have no idea how we can get better and what direction the front office takes. As a fair thing, I'm saying, what coach do we want? And what coach actually do you think out there would actually get Joel Embiid to buy in, to listen, to go down low and play under the basket where he belongs on a daily basis? What coach really will do that? And I don't know if there is a coach out there. We can name, again, Mike Budenholzer, Nick Nurse, Monty Williams, Mike D'Antoni, Sam Cassell. Dave Yeager keeps getting forgotten about. He's the defensive mastermind of this team. Some people want him to be the coach before Doc Rivers. There's a lot of names out there. And the question is, who do you go with? Because I don't know which one. You look at it. Let's break some of these names down. Mike Budenholzer won a title with the Stars and Giannis, Chris Middleton, and company. They won a title there in Milwaukee. He slacked off this year. They didn't do good. I think he got done. Out of all the coaches that were fired, I think he was done dirty the most. There's injuries there. Giannis missed games in the playoffs with an injury. His brother died. He might not have been so focused, as he normally is. That would be my number one choice. At least he's shown he can win a title with Stars. Nick Nurse, I think, lost his locker room. He did not develop young guys really well. Scotty Barnes hit a brick wall in development there in Toronto this year. He does know how to run a gun and play with a lot of lengthy, long players. The Toronto team that he led to the finals there with Kawhi was different than the team he's had the last 2 years, and that team is different than this Sixers team. So I don't know if Nick Nurse is the guy for this squad and combination of players. I don't know what happened with Monty Williams in Phoenix. You get Chris Paul and Devin Booker, and you add Kevin Durant mid-season. He plays 4 games in the regular season, and you're going to fire him? He just made the NBA Finals a year or two ago. He's been Coach of the Year already. The fact that they got rid of Monty Williams, there's something else going on there that I just don't know. I think he would be a good player or good coach that would be relatable to the players, but will he be disciplined enough? I don't know. Sam Cassell's got the ear of this team, but then there's the conversation that maybe Sam Cassell and Yeager, you just got to clean house completely. That you got to get rid of everybody. This has been a negative losing culture for 3 years. Maybe you just got to get rid of everybody and start fresh. Let Sam Cassell go somewhere else. It might be a mistake, but there is that argument to be made. You got Mike D'Antoni. You know, the run and gun of Houston and Phoenix. It didn't work. Maybe it works here. I doubt it. It's going to piss a lot of fans off. And the Houston Rockets and Philly conversation that Daryl Morey is reconstructing is going to be talked about more and more. Mark Jackson, why hasn't he? Does Mark Jackson, Eric, want to be a head coach anymore in the NBA? Because you would think if he does want to be a coach in the NBA, that he would have gotten a job by this point. Is he just one of those guys that just loves being an analyst and on ESPN and being a color guy on games? Because sometimes these coaches, they get into these cushy gigs and they fall in love with it and they don't want to leave that. Mike D'Antoni might be the only coach willing. The part, I don't want Mike D'Antoni, but the part that who's willing to take, I said this yesterday or on Monday before the firing happened. Who would want this job? You look at this mixed match of players that don't fit together. I mean, a coach, a Sam Cassell or a Yeager, a guy looking for their first job might be the only person that wants this job. Or a guy later in their career, later in their life, like D'Antoni, that wants one more chance at coaching to a title. They might be the only people that want the job. The real coaches, the Boods, the Nurse, the Monis, they're going to have their pick of the litter. And if they don't take a job this year, they'll get a job next year. Like, why would they want to come here? And that brings up Mark's guy, and I'll get to it in a second, Jay Wright. We'll talk about him in a second. I don't think Red Auerbach can fix our effort issues. Love that comment. We just fired a player's coach. I need Larry. Man, what's Larry Brown? Like 85 years old? Does he got it left in the tank? 1 year? He got the best out of Allen Iverson. Man, that would be fan. Just for for the sake of the fun that it would be to have Larry Brown back and to bring back those memories, that would be fantastic. Negative, Ed. Don't you fall for that BS. D'Antonio doesn't even. Yeah, I mean, who did he have? What was his name? He had the center in Phoenix, the big guy. Why can't I draw his name? Amari Stoudemire. And Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash. That's the second time on this show in 18 months I've called Steve Nash Kevin Nash. I used to have a little picture of Kevin Nash's body with Steve Nash's face on it. Would you take Mark Jackson? Would a safe bet? Monty Williams, I just don't know if he'd want the job. Mark Jackson falls in that category. Why hasn't he been in a coach again yet? Why hasn't Steve or Jeff Van Gundy been a coach again? These guys enjoy being, on TV. Some like them, some don't on TV, but they enjoy that cushy. It's like Cowher, Bill Cowher, legendary Pittsburgh Steelers coach, never got back on the sideline. Any college coaches? I don't like college coaches dumped into the pros in any sport, but especially basketball. I don't think it translates well. And we're going to get into one big name in a second here. I'm surprised Mark hasn't jumped in the comments yet with his name. Larry Brown really called out AI every chance. And guess what? He called out Allen Iverson, and Allen Iverson responded all the time with big games. Interviews I heard of, he wants to coach, talking about Mark Jackson. Okay, so maybe there's something else going on there. I saw somebody tweet out yesterday that he was blackballed by the NBA. I don't know why. I'm not sure there. A lot of the Golden State Warriors' success over their franchise over the last 5-7 years is thanks to what Mark Jackson work he put in. So I don't know. And here it is. Finally, somebody putting his name in the comments. The great Jay Wright. I'm surprised Mark must not be watching right now. Let's see. Facebook. There's 2 people on Facebook watching, but I don't know if he's one of them. Jay Wright. Yeah, Kevin Nash is greater than Steve Nash. Dude, let me tell you something. I do that from time to time. I say Kevin Nash instead of Steve Nash. I'll have to dig up that photo. It's somewhere saved in a file somewhere far, far away. I'll try to find it. But back to Jay Wright. Why would he want to come to Philadelphia? Again, make sure you're liking this video. You're hitting the subscribe. Why would Jay Wright want to come here? Let me tell you something. Jay Wright is a legend in Philadelphia, in college sports. He's made bazillions of dollars. He's a legend in Philly sports. He's got a cushy job where he works like 10 nights a week or year, making big money. He can walk anywhere in Philadelphia, and everybody bows down to him. He literally's got the cushy gig. Why would he want to come here and face the criticism of the Sixers fans, media, when he can't figure out how to put the pieces of Joel and James Harden together? Like, I just don't get, like, sure, if I'm the Sixers, I'm calling Jay Wright again. I mean, I wouldn't be like doing my job if I was Daryl Morey if I didn't reach out to Jay Wright. Maybe that's what his press conference would say. He's already announcing Jay Wright. Mark Moschitelli would jump out of his skin if Jay Wright was announced as the head coach. But why would he want this job? I don't know. I mean, I would take the job. But most really high-quality coaches probably look at the Sixers team and be like, I don't know if it's fixable. I don't. AI was 1,000%. You know, we always talk about people with Mamba mentality on sports teams, and James and Joel don't have it. Jalen Hurts has it. Joel Embiid just doesn't have that extra gear. Big, sexy Kevin Nash and Scott Hall were awesome in Phoenix. Dude, the outsiders, man, loved them. Loved them. They said Mark Jackson tried to force Christianity on his players. He took Steph to his church to heal his ankle, and Steph had to act like it was healed. You know, I vaguely actually now, Cal, vaguely remember that now. So maybe that is a part of the issue. And is your last name really Bundy? Are you related to Al Bundy? Peg Bundy? Your long lost cousin? Love the last name Bundy. I don't know if Al Bundy would want this job. Al Bundy would whoop some people's ass in this locker room if that was the if he was here. But Mark Jackson, I do vaguely, as I'm reading it a second and third time, it is jogging my memory a little bit, Cal, on this Christianity thing. Maybe that has part of it. Maybe. Jay Wright walked away from a great situation. Yeah, I mean, Villanova was at the top and he walked away. Why would he want to tarnish his that part right there? Sixers would tarnish his legend status. Like literally, Jay Wright is right there with Doug Peterson, Nick Foles, Bryce Harper, Charlie Manuel, the legends of the legends of Philadelphia. He doesn't have to pay for a meal anywhere. He doesn't have to pay for one of his designer suits anywhere. Like, why would he want to come into this situation and risk his legacy? Now, Mark says he's got a source, that there's a blank check waiting for him at any time. And if he said he wanted to coach, that they would fire whoever's the coach and give him that check and put him there. Maybe that's why they fired Doc Rivers. They've already got a wink, wink nod. Jay's done with retirement. He's ready to do it. I just don't understand why. And let's be honest. Jay Wright, is he the right coach? Like, first off, would he translate to the NBA? Would adults listen to him versus the college kids? And if you really know anything about Jay Wright and his Villanova teams that were successful, he never had a Joel Embiid type center. He was a 3-4 guard offense. You can't win in the NBA with 4 guards. You can win with small ball, but you're not going to win the way he won in Villanova. So does he have the ability to adjust his philosophies to the NBA? I don't even know. So why would he risk his legacy, tarnish his legend status? He was blackballed because of Warriors owner. Was it maybe part of the Christianity thing that Cal said? I don't know. It's kind of insane though, because he did. I mean, everybody gives Steve Kerr all this credit, and rightfully so. They've won, not one, not two, not one, 3. I think 4 titles in Golden State now with Steph Curry. Like, everybody gives Steve Kerr all the credit, but Mark Jackson did the dirty work before. He built that team to what they are. He grew. Like, Mark Jackson would be a guy great for a Tyrese Maxey to help grow him into an NBA from a star to a superstar. It's a killer last name. I mean, Bundy. Who wouldn't want the name Bundy? I mean, I don't know. It would actually get kind of tired, Marshawn. If your name was Bundy, And everybody asking, are you related to Al Bundy? Did you go to Polk High? Is his jersey, is Al's jersey still hanging at Polk High? You got the MVP. I think the Sixers were the second or third best team in the second round. I think the job is actually really good. It's a interesting comment there, Cam. Is it better? Is our frustration with another second round exit putting us in a position where we're looking too down on this team? You do have the MVP. You still have one of the best players in the league. You got technically James Harden, Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey. You've got a good team. Is it literally as simple as a different voice than Doc Rivers gets this team over the hump? And Cam, I think you have a very valid point. And I don't know if I'm ready. I'm not over Sunday's defeat yet enough, even though this is third show of the week. I thought the therapy of this show would get me over it quicker. It hasn't. But maybe you're right. Maybe in a week or two from now, I'll be thinking this is not that bad. I mean, we took Boston to 7 games. We were this close. We actually get a performance. If we have a head coach that holds Joel Embiid accountable, James Harden accountable, do we win that game 7 against Boston? Maybe that's all it is. A little bit of discipline, a little bit of accountability from the head coach, and we win. Maybe. The only people who can fix this team is Jeffrey Lurie. Give me Howie Roseman. Absolutely. Let Jeffrey Lurie buy the team. I think that's part of the issue. And I think we don't talk about that part of the issue of this team enough, is that Josh Harris, he's not the Jeffrey Lurie or the John Middleton of the Philadelphia 76ers. He's just an investment guy, a financial guy that just is using the Sixers to increase his portfolio. He cares more about money than titles. Jeffrey Lurie, on the other hand, wants trophies in his case to show off to his Hollywood friends. Look at this Super Bowl trophy. I got a second Super Bowl trophy. I got a third. That's what he wants. He wants Super Bowl trophies next to his Oscars. He does have both, if you don't realize that. And he cares about this city. John Middleton is in the stands at Citizen Bank Park on any given night, rubbing elbows with the fans that are paying money to go see the game. You would never see Josh Harris anywhere with casual people, with the common folk. You would never see Josh Harris because he just cares about, look, it's another sellout. Yep, that's all that matters. What's my bank account? What's my cryptocurrency account looking like today? That's all he cares about. Kobe looked at Iverson as an equal, kindred spirits without the same work ethic. Dude, I always said if Allen Iverson went to the gym one time, not once a week or once a day or once a year, like one time in his career, just one time, just go work out one time, just go, all right, I'm done. That one little rep of push-ups or whatever would have made Allen Iverson on Kobe's. Like, he just didn't do the extra work. It breaks my heart. But he loved those TGI Friday wings, man. Jay Wright is a small ball coach, never dealt with this kind of talent before. And it would be a Philly thing to fill it for the Sixers to. Yeah, see, and that's my thing with the Jay Wright. Like, outside of the fact that why would he want to tarnish his legacy? The other part of the equation is, can he coach a big guy like Joel Embiid? Can he coach in the NBA? Like, I just don't know. That's small ball. I mean, there was one of those championship runs where they were running out 4 guys that were 6'5" or shorter, and their center was like 6'7", 6'8". And they were just running with that. You know, I just don't know if his philosophies would even match with this team. I'm pissed Morey's still here. I love a shot to fix. You want the shot, Eric? All right, Eric, if you get a shot to fix this team, you'd save a lot of money because you take the job a lot cheaper than Daryl Morey. Eric, if you get the job, you better give me some kind of a role. You know, get me interviews with the players, Eric. You got to do something. Give me some form of a role. You know, make sure you're on my show every morning so I can interview the president of the Sixers on my show every morning. You know, you got to give me something, Eric. But understand, if you screw up, I'm going to criticize you on this show, Eric. Just so you know. Worst case scenario, we could be more likely get a haul from the Lakers for Joel Embiid. So what would you do? How would you trade Joel Embiid to the Lakers? Thinking. I don't know what their draft pick situation is. Who are you going to get back? Rui Hachimura? I actually love Rui Hachimura. I loved him in Washington. I thought he'd be a great role player off our bench. But that's not. Are you going to get Anthony Davis? Do you want Anthony Davis? Like, I just don't know who on the Lakers you would get for Joel Embiid. And would that really even work? I don't know. Seeing Jeffrey Lurie in the draft room this year, talking to the draftees, he said generally so excited to get those guys. Jeffrey Lurie he's different. He's just totally different. And I don't know, like he truly, like he's not from Philadelphia, but I consider him a Philadelphian. I really do. Josh Harris, he can't even pick one city and stick to it. That's why he's buying Washington Commanders. He owns the New Jersey Devils. Like, I don't know. Like, Jeffrey Lurie understands the people. Man, we need Josh Harris would need to sell this team for me to really feel good about the organization as a whole. Like, we say that the Eagles, literally, in my opinion, are probably one of the 3 best run franchises in all of sports across the globe. Jeffrey Lurie, just between the community, what he does for the fans, how he handles everything, one of the best run organizations in the world. We got Morey talking at 12:30 today. Well, if I'm not busy at the shop, it'll be on at the shop for sure. We need NBA champion coach, NBA championship players, and good three-point shooters. That's all. Just give me an NBA championship level coach, some championship level players, and a good three-point shooter or two. It seems easy. Eric, you said you want the role, Eric. Can you get that done for us? I wish there was some way the Sixers trade Embiid and get Paolo Banchero. Oh, man. Scotty from DSM would be livid. He loves Banchero. Am I saying his name right? I'm trying to sound cool with the roll in my tongue. Banchero. I don't know. I'm torn on the whole Joel Embiid trade conversation. Like, I get it. You're not going to do it. You can't do it. I know that taking a step back like that would maybe take 2 steps forward. I'm more prone to just keep Joel and keep trying new combos. Find a way to get rid of Harden. Find a way to get rid of Tobias. Hell, I'll even slightly 1% entertain the Tyrese Maxey conversation, depending on what it gets you back. But I just don't want to get rid of Embiid. I just think it would be the Embiid thing is the last case scenario. You get rid of everybody before you get rid of Joel Embiid, just because of the money side of things as well. Would love Lurie to pull a Stan Kroenke and buy all the teams. He's got the money to do it. That's for sure. Sure. I mean, I don't have a problem with John Middleton. John Middleton has grown on me over the years. He is a man of the people. Him and his toupee, his comb over. Like me, I'm losing my hair. It doesn't look it right now because it's really long right now. But when I get a haircut later today and it's back down to like super short buzz cut, you'll see my hairline and how far back it's going. Man, let me tell you something. John Middleton, just let it go, man. That's how you become a man of the people 100%. Just show them what you got up there, even if it's nothing. I can think outside the box, unlike Morey. Bro, if I got the Sixers job, you're going to be I'm going to be the Pat Croce. Man, that guy's got energy, man. He still does. I saw him doing an interview. Was it with, I think he was on Mark Zumos' podcast a week or two ago. That guy's still full of energy. He's got a really cool beard, too, right now. Dude, the Pat Croce era with the Sixers, man, that was entertaining as hell, man. He was a great president for this team and this franchise. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over again and expecting different results. There's also a fine line, Cal, between insanity and genius. The distance between insanity and genius is only measured by success. If you're successful, you're a genius. If you fail, you're insane. So there's a lot of insanity quotes I could throw out there. It's a hard sell to the fan base that you want to trade Joel Embiid. I get it. I'm saying sometimes you guys take a step back to take a step forward. It's just a hard sell. I get it. And I think you try one more time, whether it's with a Dame Lillard trade, whether it's with whatever you could get for Tobias and James Harden with the new coach, even if it's running all of them back with a new coach, I still say you try one more time before you take that plunge into the pool of trading Joel Embiid. I swear Morey makes trades on 2K and watches his team's overall rating improves and gets on the phone. No. He's just got what are they called? The video DVDs that they put out of teams after the season's over. The yearbooks. He just watches his 2018 Rockets yearbook on his side computer. Oh man, look at that. Can we get Clint Capella back in here too? Let's trade Joel Embiid for Clint Capella, and then we got this. Like that's all he's thinking of. What worked in 2018? Let's just try it again here in Philly. That's all he wants. I get you. Inclusive Maxi interviews. Dude, man, Eric R. for president and GM of my Philadelphia 76ers. My career is taking off. I love it. I love it. Man, in a fantasy world, who would be your ideal star to build around, and who's their Robin you put next to him? Out of the whole NBA, like not who's my star I'd put next to Joel Embiid. I mean, it's hard to say at this point. I mean, it breaks my heart to say it. I mean, Jason Tatum, maybe my star. I don't know. I'm looking around the NBA. I'm looking. I mean, the guys I like, Joel Embiid, Jimmy Butler, Dame Lillard, they're all getting up there in age. That's the problem. I mean, maybe Jalen Brunson's not really a star yet. Jalen Brunson would be a good 2. The secondary piece around a Jason Tatum. I'm thinking in my mind about the Celtics, the Bucks. You know, I still have a lot of faith that Scotty Barnes. You know, the Scotty Barnes in Toronto, I still think he's going to be a star. I do. I truly believe that. I'm missing somebody, that I would love to build around. I'd still build around Kevin Durant, too. Put a Jalen Brunson with a Kevin Durant. I think it would be very entertaining. But Cam, I don't live in a fantasy world. I don't. I live in the insanity world. That insane quote was a bar. Hey, let me tell you something. I still remember a really bad Bond movie. The villain, the movie tycoon. He was the media tycoon. Live Another Day. I think it was one when Pierce Bronson, Terry Hatcher was in it. But the media tycoon, when he confronted Bond, Bond says you're insane. He's like, the difference between insanity, or the distance between insanity and genius, is measured only by success. Daryl Morey might be insane. Still, there's no rumors saying this. There isn't. But man, wouldn't it be something? Wouldn't it be something if today at his press conference at 12:30 today, he just said, "Well, I'm stepping down as president of the Sixers, and Eric R. is taking over." That's what I'm expecting. Eric, are you at the Wells Fargo Center today? Are you there? Is that why there's a press conference at 12:30 today? Are you being named head coach of the Sixers? I know you want the GM job. Embiid, Ingram, Jalen Brown, and Maxey. Wow. Yeah, so you get Ingram. Maybe you send Harden. I don't know how you'd get Ingram and Jalen Brown. See, the thing is, to get Jalen Brown, you probably got to trade Maxey or Embiid. You might be able to get Ingram in a deal for Harden, whether it's a 2-team or 3-team trade. But I don't know if you can get all of them. But in an ideal fantasy world, that would be a hell of a 5-4-3-2. You'd still need a point guard. But you can go get Eric Snow and put the point guard with that combo of 4. That would be an insane 4 right there. I saw some people talking about Brandon Ingram to the Sixers this offseason. I know, wasn't he injured a lot this year, Brandon Ingram? I'm not sure what kind of injury it was, but I would have no problem with Brandon Ingram on this team. If you lose Harden and you need another score, that's what this team has lacked. That small forward, that can just get buckets, not afraid to take buckets. That guy that's just going to take shots all the time. Like, that is what this team has lacked for a long, long time. And I'd be very excited to get somebody like Brandon Ingram on this team. I think him and Jalen Brown were kind of too much similar of a player to an extent, size-wise. But if there's a way you can upgrade Tobias Harris to Brandon Ingram, does Brandon Ingram, instead of Tobias Harris, with James Harden still on this team, Joel Embiid, Brandon Ingram, James Harden, Tyrese Maxey, is that a good 4 right there? Ingram's better than Tobias. Like I said, I don't remember why he was hurt this year. But great length, defense, scoring. Again, the only thing, Eric, would be, is he healthy? What was his reasoning? Like, I can't go right now and look at I can't Google search this. The Sixers and the Flyers are the same thing. Well, let me tell you something, Eric. I said it yesterday, and I'll say it again. At least the Flyers are willing to make the bold move. The Sixers are stuck in purgatory. I don't know what's going on. They have no choice but to run it back with a new coach, honestly, at this point. Or to do what the Flyers are doing and make a bold move. A bold move would be that Daryl Morey is not the GM anymore. That you trade Joel Embiid or Tyrese Maxey or whatever and reset this. The Flyers hiring of Keith Jones, keeping Danny Briere, at least they're admitting where they're at. They're making the reset. They're making the bold move that's necessary. And they're taking a step back to hopefully take 2 steps forward down the line. Something the Sixers need to consider at all costs. Honestly, the Sixers are already at the top of the arc and on the way down. They got to find that second wave. The Flyers have hit the top, already come all the way down to the bottom, and they're ready to start that slow climb up the roller coaster. If they pay Harden, they're going to pay James Harden. I mean, a team conceivably will give James Harden the max deal. If the Sixers give Harden the max deal, it's because they're trading him. I do not, like in a sign and trade situation, I do not see a situation where the Sixers commit to 4 years at $40 million or whatever the max deal would look like for James Harden. I just don't see the Sixers commit to it. He's 34 years old. Now, I can see them committing 2 years or another 1-1 like he was on this year at $40 million. And if that's what they want to do, if they want to run back another 1-1 with a player option for James Harden and they want to give him big money, they might have to do that. They might. If D'Antoni becomes coach, it's the Chuck Fletcher of the NBA strategy. Well, we saw how the Chuck Fletcher strategy worked for the Flyers. But if I had to put not what I want, what I think Daryl Morey is thinking right now, if I was inside Daryl Morey's head, because Eric R. is not the GM president of this team, Daryl Morey is. If I'm in Daryl Morey's head right now, in my mind, I'm thinking, I want Mike D'Antoni here. If the players approve it. If not, I'm going to get Monty Williams. And if Monty Williams doesn't want the job, it's going to be Sam Cassell. That's what I think Daryl Morey is thinking right now. It's D'Antoni. It's Monty Williams. It's Sam Cassell. Unless Jay Wright makes a phone call and says, hey, can I have the job? And then you don't interview anybody. You don't even interview Jay Wright. You just give him the job. That's what's going on in Daryl Morey's head, in my estimation. I don't know if that's the way it's going to work. I don't want it to go that way. It would be a disaster if it went that way. But that's the way it might happen. It really, really, really might. Let's see. I have an eye for talent and would tend to look at acquiring a player right before. Well, Eric, my pride and joy, Eric. My pride and joy. I'm wrong all the time, Eric. And I'm the only content creator out there that when he's wrong, I have no problem admitting it. And I've been wrong a lot. I'm always wrong. Okay. And if Mike D'Antoni comes here and leads this team to a title, I'll admit I was wrong as I'm cracking beers and celebrating champagne-wise and all. But my best, not wrong, but right, was when you've got to find those players before when they hit the restricted free agent and kind of max them out then. And I said there was a young player. I was right twice, but one player did end up playing here eventually, and he was Jimmy Buckets. There was a player, he was coming up on a restricted, and every year it pops up when during free agency on my Facebook memory feed. So when it comes up, and it'll come up pretty soon on my Facebook feed soon, and I'll put it on Twitter, I'll share it on the show. There was this young player that was available to be given a max deal as a restricted free agent. And I didn't know if he would, his team at the time was going to match it, but I said the Sixers needed to take a shot on this guy and offer him the 4-year max deal. At the time, the max deal was only like $88 million for a restricted free agent. And I said the Sixers should make a bold move and change the trajectory of the franchise by going out and offering a max deal to restricted free agent, 4th-year player, Kawhi Leonard. And everybody laughed at me like, oh, this guy's not going to develop much more than he has, whatever. Well, look at Kawhi Leonard now. I mean, well, now he's injured a lot and whatnot, but he turned into one of the best players in the league for quite a long period of time there. If you can hit a sweet spot, you can get good players without ever paying them. Yeah, I mean, good luck with that in this NBA, but I get it. Thank you. Thank you. Give me Monty or Sam in the AM. Dude, Eric, you got to use your connections at PSN. Get me Monty or Sam or whoever the head coach is. We got to find a way to get whoever becomes the next head coach on the morning show for an interview. That would be clutch. That would be awesome. We should be able to get one of the top head coaches. As bad as our situation is right now, are we in the worst spot right now? Well, let's look at the job. So you got Monty Williams, Budenholzer, Nurse. You got Sam Cassell. You got Mike D'Antoni. You got these names. You've got Phoenix. You got Milwaukee. You got Toronto. You got Philly. And you got Detroit that's looking for head coach. I don't think I'm missing anybody else. Out of all those coaches and coaching openings, where do we rank? If you were Marshawn Lynch, the best coaching candidate on the market, would the Sixers be your top choice? I mean, it wouldn't be my top choice. I'd want to go play with Milwaukee with Giannis, or I'd want to go to, Phoenix. You got Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. I almost said Chris Booker. Chris Paul and Devin Booker. The Sixers would be like third. At least in Toronto, they got young players like Scotty Barnes that you could develop and build around. Detroit, they got a lot of young, good players. Would the Sixers be ahead of Detroit? Yes. But would they be ahead of the other three spots? I don't know. I don't know if they would be. I wouldn't give Harden shit. I'll say it. I won't say emoji. I'll just say it. Shit. We need to get athletic and faster. 15-0 runs anytime after halftime is the kryptonite. We do need to get faster. This team is so slow. Like, dude, I could barely run anymore, Eric. I'm old. I'm beat up. I've got injuries. But I think I could keep up with this team in a full court game because they're just so slow. So slow. No elite small forward is ever coming here. We value small forward the same way the Eagles value linebacker. Well, that's where you got to get crazy and change the culture of what this team's philosophies are. You need Jalen Browns, Giannis Antetokounmpos, Patrick Siakams. You need small forwards to win in the NBA. Hell, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. I'm just naming the names in the, Mike or LeBron James. There are so many small forwards that are elite, and they're always in it late in the season in the NBA playoffs. Yet we don't got one. We got Tobias Harris and PJ Tucker. And I love Tobias Harris. I do. I know he's got to go, but I'm still a fan. But he's just not built for this NBA game that we're currently at. I would take Milwaukee first, then the Sixers. Phoenix is a great situation on paper, but that's a lot of egos. Well, there's just as many egos in Philly. I mean, you got James Harden right now and Joel Embiid, the two biggest egos there are. I really see it that way. Phoenix I would put Milwaukee first, then Phoenix, then probably Philly third. But I think Philly and Toronto are close because Toronto's still slightly trending up. The Sixers are at the peak, and they're teetering. Are they going to fall down, or are they going to stay up there? So I think that's it. You needed time. I think he is legit an amazing coach. It's kind of BS. The teams can take coaches off the market before playoffs are done. It's interesting. Oh, Ime, not time. You needed Ime Udoka. Yeah, that's interesting because that's an interesting situation right there for sure. I think the funny question or the interesting question is, will Doc Rivers get a job? Does he want a job? I don't know. But we keep talking about all these names on the market with all these jobs. Where's Doc Rivers fall? I mean, he's 9th most wins all time in the NBA history. His Game 7 records aren't good, but he's still considered in many circles an elite coach. Is there a scenario where one of these jobs gets scooped up? We keep thinking there's these 5 job openings and these names that we keep saying. But what if Doc Rivers takes one? And then that bump, say Doc Rivers takes Milwaukee or Phoenix or whatever. That leaves one of these other elite coaches more likely to come to Philly. Just a scenario that popped in my head. We only got like 5 minutes left in the show, but I wanted to make sure we brought that up. Where does Doc Rivers end in all this? Lewis King from the Blue Coats is better than Tobias Harris. Well, we saw him in one game at the end of the season. So I'm not going to jump to that conclusion. That's like you saying Mac McClung needs to be on this roster next year too, Cal. I don't know about that. At the very least, give me Sadiq Bey. Dude, I wanted Sadiq Bey at this trade deadline. I really did. And I mapped out a strategy when I was on my previous network on how you can get Sadiq Bey here at the trade deadline. It didn't work out in our favor, and I think that hurt us. Josh Hart is somebody I've been pining for. He's been traded how many times? He's become a free agent multiple times. Josh Harris is the type of player we need on this team. He does it all. He can score when needed. If he's not needed to score, he grabs rebounds, plays defense, can dribble the ball and bring it up court. He literally is he's not great at anything, but he's really good at everything. He's a jack of all trades, master of none, and he's a perfect teammate. I love Josh Hart. I don't know how you get him here, but if you got me Josh Hart on this team, I would be jumping circles. I would be buying his jersey and hanging up behind me. I love Josh Hart. Love him. Score small forwards are this era's shooting guards. I agree. Well, go find me one, Prez. You got to change your name, Eric R., to Prez on this show in your comment. So when it pops up, new president of basketball operations for the Philadelphia 76ers, Eric R. I love it. Go get me Sadiq Bey or Josh Hart, Eric, and go get me Brandon Ingram and Josh Hart to pair with Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey. If you want to keep James Harden too, I doubt you can do all that with James Harden. But go get me Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram, pair them two with Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid. Find me a point guard, a veteran point guard, whatever. We're in business. I think I just mapped it out. I don't know how we're getting there, but just think about that. Joel Embiid, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, Tyrese Maxey, and I don't know what point guard's available. Chris Paul might be a free agent. Go get me Chris Paul. I don't know. I don't care. Get me somebody to wear the point. Ty Lue leaving the Clippers yet or what? Is he? I know I've heard rumors about that too. Before Doc Rivers was available, when Brett Brown was fired, Ty Lue was number one on my list. I didn't want Doc Rivers. I'm like, all right. Doc Rivers became available and we hired him. All right. I mean, I could accept that over Ty Lue. That's what I said then. But Ty Lue was my top choice because I thought he dealt with egos well in Cleveland. And I thought he could have dealt with our egos. They didn't have much success in LA with those egos of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. They were often injured. Lots of issues there. I don't know. I don't know if I want Ty Lue now. I don't think he's as hot of a candidate as he was last go around. Again, Villanova guys, you get a bunch of them here. Jay Ray. See, you're still lurking in the comments, waiting for another Villanova post to make another Jay Wright comment. Hey, it would be entertaining as hell, Mark, if Jay Wright came here. We got a bunch of Villanova guys to pair with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. Sure. Hey, we got Tyrese Maxey. Well, if you're going to say Jay Wright, go get Calipari. Let's go that route. Why not? Somebody earlier in the show said, let's get a college coach. Why don't we go get Calipari? Just imagine if Morey could have offered Tucker $10 million less and used that on Dante DiVincenzo and Josh Hart. Dude, if you would imagine just this team exactly as it was, but you upgrade our bench. So let's see who would have come off the bench. You would maybe not have brought back George Niang. That's fine. He's a free agent. I don't want him back now. So you take George Niang off this team, and you take, say, Furkan Korkmaz or Shake Milton, and you put Dante DiVincenzo, the Delaware Michael Jordan, and Josh Hart on the team. We're still playing basketball right now with those two guys on our bench right now. Eric, I firmly believe if you have those two guys on our bench this year, we beat the Celtics. We're a much better team. Totally different story. It's crazy. Finney Smith would be a good start at rebuilding this. Yeah, but see, the thing is with Finney Smith, we need pure scorers on this team. You're losing James Harden can't score like he used to. Joel Embiid scores, but it's a different game. You need a score. You need a pure gunner. Just a guy that's just going to score. Brandon Ingram's that guy. Finney Smith isn't going to put up 20, 25 points a game. You need a 20, 25 point scorer on this team. That's what you need. And I don't think Finney Smith is that guy. Now, Finney Smith could be your one of your guys off the bench, or if you find a really good scoring guard of some kind, or a really good power forward, stretch forward, maybe. But if you're just replacing, say, Tobias Harris with Finney Smith, it's not going to do what you need, I don't think. Jamal Murray, I don't know which Murray you're talking about. Jamal Murray is very good. I don't know if he's available. I doubt he's going to be available. But he's also injury prone. I don't know. Man, another extended edition of Training the AM. I think we're going to go back to the simple hour tomorrow. I need a simpler 60-minute show tomorrow. So it won't be live till 8:30 tomorrow, I don't think. Brandon Ingram. Okay, I thought you were talking realistic options. Somebody put it out there, and I saw it the other day, and it's not as totally out of the realm of possibility. If we're finding a way to sign and trade James Harden, if we're trading Tobias Harris, there is a possibility, a scenario out there where you could find a way to get Brandon Ingram back here to pair with Embiid and Maxey. There's a scenario out there. I'm not sure what that scenario is, but there's a scenario out there. I'm not the GOAT. I'm just trying to be the GOAT. Big news tomorrow. I'm going to make my big announcement tomorrow. Okay? I don't know what we're giving up. Tobias Harris? Maybe it's part of a 3-team trade that is sending James Harden to Houston. I don't know. It's possible. But we got to go back to an hour show tomorrow. I need to sleep 20 extra minutes in the morning. We're gonna work on making these longer shows more frequently, especially come football season. Got to find a way to boost the views a little bit more. So maybe I can find some ads or something like that to put in this show. A way to make a few bucks. I got to do that. But I do need a little sleep tomorrow. Embiid needs to play more of a Tim Duncan role and dominate in spurts. Yeah, he needs to. I don't know if he could play the Joker role or the Tim Duncan role. He needs to be like Shaq, just sit under the basket. That's it. It's not talent, it's effort. 1,000% agree with this. What about Klay Thompson? I've heard a few people talk about Klay Thompson here in Philly. I've heard a few people say that. And it'll be interesting to see, Boyd, how that works out. Siakam, man, I would hate to have to cheer for Siakam, but it would be interesting. Phil, an afternoon event session. Dude, I need to make some money before I start doing 2 shows a day, Marshawn. I need to make some money doing this, for that to happen. Tell Liam, find a way to get some ads on this show, and I'll do it. We dominated early in the season when we moved the ball more. Afternoon, everybody wants an afternoon show. Maybe someday I'll surprise you guys, and I'll do one from the pizza shop. When I'm fully staffed, we'll do some afternoon event shows from the pizza shop. Embiid, for all his greatness, is doing too much. He is, absolutely, 100%. We're wrapping it up right there. Trending in the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. Back tomorrow. This is like 3 days this week that I wanted to talk Phillies. I didn't get to it. So maybe we'll get to Phillies tomorrow. I'm sure we'll talk Daryl Morey's press conference tomorrow. Yes, pizza shop show. So the phone's ringing in the background. Yeah, that'd be hilarious. Klay Thompson got too many miles on them wheels. Agreed. See, the comments I'm trying to get off and wrap this up, and you guys keep rolling in these great comments here. Liam strikes me as a Howie type of GM. Make this show happen. Yeah. Liam knows what's best for business. I'm best for business. Phillies are streaking again. Exactly. I had it all prepared. All the wins and loss streaks. Not stacking winning streaks, stacking bad streaks here. We'll get into that tomorrow. Maybe I have to go extend it again tomorrow, guys. Maybe I'll be back on at 8:10, 8:15 again tomorrow for another extended episode. Anyway, I got to wrap it up, guys. I got things I got to get to here today. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Trending in the AM, Philadelphia Sports Network. We only got 12 likes on this video today. What the hell is wrong with the people out there, man? Pound that like button for my man. For me, this guy right here. Back tomorrow. Maybe an extended episode, maybe not. But either way, big news breaking tomorrow on the show for me, man. I got something big I got to say tomorrow. I've been holding it in. Told a few people privately. Thank you, Cam, for tuning in, my man. We'll talk to you all tomorrow. Trend in the AM for Philadelphia Sports Network. I'm Phil Stiefel. See you tomorrow, guys.